Hey everyone, welcome back to Fed Up. It's been a while with me, the flu-infested one at the moment. Joining me today is my guest Jonas from the the Swiss thrash band Comaniac. That was a good start, tongue-tied already.
We
Uh,
take it.
yeah. I'm blaming the cold and flu, man.
That's
Uh,
it.
how's it going on your side this evening?
Feeling great. Very happy to finally be on the show here. Has been a few weeks after you got sick, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for
Yeah.
the invite.
Oh, you're welcome, man. It's good to meet you after these years as well. For those who may not know, I used to play Comaniac on my shows on Brutal Existence Radio for a long time, and Jonas did me various drops for my shows as well, which I've still got. Hilarious, and the thing I want to jump straight into, and we've got the album cover as the background at the moment. What grabbed me, it's got a very like sci-fi 40k post-apoc feel. It's like this mix of Fallout, as I said, Warhammer 40,000, and it kind of looks like I could be way off here, like a cyborg on top of these corpses. So I was just wondering what the inspiration was for the cover and who you worked with to bring that concept to life.
Yeah, we worked or have been working with Ken Coleman um, for I think 3 years now. He designs the artwork for our third studio album Holodox, which was released in 2020, and we were very happy with the result there. I remember I had like 2 or 3 sheets of notes and drafts and stuff for this album Holodox, the third
Wow.
one, and I always have a particular concept or idea in mind,
Yeah.
which suits the lyrics and also the title and stuff. And that's normally how it rolls. I have my notes, my drafts, and then I send it to someone, and in the perfect fit, it works very, very well with the guy. And that happened with Ken Coleman back in 2020. And so I came back to him, of course, with the fourth album, which is None for All, the album we're talking about right now, and we see in the background the artwork. And I don't know why, but for this album, it was the first album where I didn't have a clear vision. I had the message and the idea of the lyrics and like my notes, but no drafts at all. And actually, I wanted to have a very simple and easy artwork to digest. Like
Yeah.
easy coloring and maybe one motive and as simple as possible was
Yeah.
the first idea. But maybe we come later to the topics and the lyrics and themes
Yeah.
about the album. It was very difficult to catch this idea into a picture or into an artwork. And so I told Ken, you know what? If you have any ideas, just feel free. And that was actually the first artwork, which was mainly designed by the artist himself.
Wow.
And as I had full trust into Ken, he came up with ideas, and then he sent me some ideas about graphic ideas, and it was a back and forth. But to be honest, a lot of the details and visual identity of the album is out of his hands, which is amazing.
Yeah, it is. And it's sometimes nice to get that fresh perspective as well, just to see what somebody comes up with. It immediately grabbed me, like I said, for the sci-fi that I can see in it. It's like it's got that post-apoc, dark kind of future all rolled into one, and it really does grab you. And I like the way the lettering above for the Foco Maniac is above it as well, and it's just got that nice little shine on the letters that are standing out. So a really good thrash art, a really good thrash cover, and I appreciate what you were saying where sometimes you kind of get that creative blank where you can't think of an image, and you want something that is hopefully going to stand out. You don't want to kind of fall into, let's have a generic kind of blood splattered cover and the usual that you see sometimes. And but I think it really does fit the tone of the album, which is the perfect segue to talk about the opener, Eye to Eye. This has got the classic Comaniac feel, very raw, very thrash. There's some other tracks like that, which we'll get to. So Eye to Eye, did you want this blistering opening to really grab the listener, to hook them in, to keep them there for the journey?
Yeah. We had those who had followed Comaniac for the last few years. I think every album has its own color, or whatever you want to call it. Actually, that's a funny thing with the artwork as well, because I told Ken, feel free to do anything, but I would love to have like a color for the album in these blue grayish tones, or color shades, because I love to have every album in its own color, kind of, to say it very simply, like, oh, you remember Comaniac's album, the one with the red artwork, the one with the blue, and the one with the green? And that was also an idea about the coloring of the artwork. And I think, funny enough, I think the design, which fits very well with the music as well, and as you said, Eye to Eye, which is a pretty thrashy opener. I think we had different tries in our opening songs on every album, but what always works is like a punch in the face, and that's what we wanted. We also wanted to have a short intro. I work a lot with my acoustic guitar at home. I love to play the acoustic guitar, and I think it's a great possibility also for live performance. If you have a very simple and meaningful and also moody intro, which then leads into the first song. And the funny thing is also, there's this intro, which is acoustic guitars and some effects. And the acoustic guitar melody is actually the same melody which comes in the chorus again in the first song, but it's halftime. It's much slower, and because of that, it has a very different mood. But it's actually the same motive of music. Yeah. So that's behind the idea of the song.
Yeah. Well, it does. It gives that emotional tone as well, because I noticed, compared to some of the earlier releases, this has a lot of melodic parts in it as well. Some songs that could almost give you a visual of somebody sat in this wasteland, being kind of introspective, looking back on, say, what's happened, their own life. And I think with the themes, which, we'll explore, it needed that little bit of emotion as well. You still have the raw tracks, such as, Breakdown Right, one of my particular favorites for that reason. And as you said, I think if you play the acoustic live, whether it was to introduce the opener song for a set or halfway through, it would give it would add again that immersion, set the mood, get people thinking a moment. So almost as if it's I'm going to show I'm such a nerd again, but like a soundtrack for Mad Max in a way as well, where it's got everything there combined. So when you were thinking of the themes for this album, Jonas, did you what I'm curious about, did you at first intend for this to be a full-on rage, or did you think, no, we need some melodic parts in here, some even kind of, I hope this is okay to say, but even like bordering on ballads in a way, just to get people thinking? So I'm just curious how you put it together.
I love that question. I love to answer it. I try my best. My English is not top notch, but
Well,
it's
mine isn't at the
also
moment either.
it's not the easiest way to explain, but I definitely
Mm,
try. Comaniac has always been about musical exploration,
mm,
and that is, I think, mainly because of me as a main songwriter. I love different kinds of metal music,
yeah,
handmade music. That's I would say that's the main reason for myself to explore more music is
yeah,
it has to be handmade. It has to be like emotional.
yeah,
And myself, my biggest motivation to do this, to do whatever we do in the band, is to explore new possibilities. And then there's of course the root in thrash metal because that's my by far my favorite genre, and it's just so full of energy.
mm,
Then we just try different things all the time, songwriting, and then I have my actually I love music also in once in a progressive way, but also in a simple way.
yeah,
There are two different dynamics in music and two different types of approach, and just to explore. That's my main my motivation, main motivation to do so, and that's the reason why it came out like this. There are lots of different songs on the album, and yeah, some are maybe not your cup of tea, some are. So everyone should find something. And I also love the possibilities, or to explore possibilities in chorus arrangements in thrash
mm,
metal. But thrash
mm,
metal, in my hearing, or how I hear it, it's full of power. And then the chorus, there can be team shouts or very fast and aggressive shouting. But having this epic chorus, like in wherever you want to hear it, in power metal or wherever, you don't have this in thrash metal. And that's also a reason why it's thrash metal and power metal and stuff. But I love to explore, a catchy chorus or an epic moment in thrash metal. That's what keeps me going. So that's what we always try. And I think on this album, we found a very, in my understanding, a pretty interesting path between those extremes. Yeah.
yeah. That it was interesting for me coming to this album because, in all honesty, it's been a few years since I heard you, and I used to play your albums, as you know, on my radio shows. So I noticed that change from the earlier albums with this one, and that's why I say I noticed the. Funnily enough, you mentioned power metal. I noticed those elements in the music, bits of prog as well, and I thought this is kind of as you were talking about each album having its own identity. Well, this one certainly does. It's different. There's still some of the raw rages that remind me of your early albums, which yeah, I mean, I love that. I'm not gonna lie. Since I heard that, I was like, ah, man, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because you have it's just pure cut, all out raw, aggressive thrash. And I liked what you were describing with bringing in those different elements with the vocal range because with thrash, the rawer side definitely pays homage to the hardcore roots that influence on thrash. And you can even bring in gang backing vocals on there as well. But then with the catchy chorus, as you were saying, that's when you can lean into power metal. The melodic parts can bring in prog. So it's still thrash, but it's got that versatility as well. And as I was saying, with all like my nerdy kind of interest that I was getting visuals for when I was listening, but I thought it reminds me of those thrash albums from some of those big legacy bands where they had some rages on there, but then
Mm.
they had like the melodic ballad kind of parts as well. And yeah, as you were saying, sometimes, you know, it might not be everybody's flavor, if you like. They just want the origin from start to finish. So do I a lot
Yeah.
of the time. But it is nice to hear that other edge to the band as well, such as yourself saying, look, this is different. This goes with the theme that we are doing. And there's nothing wrong with that. And you remember albums like that as well. They stand out. So, and I think for you being a musician, obviously songwriting, I've said this to guests who've been on the show before, it stops you getting bored. And we've got a particular vision in mind with this release. This is going to work. If it was maybe set about some angry dude chasing someone down an alleyway, well, yeah, you could do a non-stop rager album.
Yeah.
but this has different elements. So it was a very interesting answer, I thought. So when I was reading about the themes explored on None for All, it says it's like a fiery discourse on indifference and, excuse me, this is so annoying being infested with. I'm going to have to mute for a moment for it.
Sure. Maybe I can just take over.
Yeah, please, don't.
So you can cough your stuff out, and then we go on. Right. Yeah. So the album is about a fiery discourse. We call it because between empathy and indifference in society. That's kind of the source, and then of course it applies on or you can reflect it on yourself, of course, as well, because as a part of society, right? Yeah, and I think looking back, I think there's a lot of inspiration, of course, during the Corona pandemic, which has had a huge influence on the whole music industry. Of course, in every country, I think, and in every band, you had a lot of bands which stopped during Corona, or even after that, because it was a big motivation to do a band. Of course, is performing live, having connection with the crowd and stuff. And without this, you have to find your own or another motivation. For example, songwriting or trying new things, right? So being in this kind of isolation shell, whatever, during that time, there were so many topics coming up during Corona, like vaccination, for example, which had a huge hatred, between people, or a huge controversy. Is that the word?
Yeah, that's right.
And I was just shocked how we people can treat each other, right, during that hard time. And then sometimes I was totally overwhelmed as well with the situation, because I thought, like, dude, come on, just leave me alone, let me do my thing. And you can have these feelings in totally different topics, or things that move or go on in your life, whatever it is. There's in my life, at least, there's always this path between, or this controversy between, do I care and how do I react, or do I not care? And yeah, about these feelings. The album is about these feelings, and how to actually get your life together, or yeah. And then every song deals with a different topic. It can be social, like a social context, economic context, or an individual context. And for example, Eye to Eye, as we talked about it, as a cool opener, I think, also with the artwork, because this song is about artificial intelligence, and the how it has developed, how it might develop in the future, and how it's present in our daily life. And also with the artwork, the cyborg kind of figure in the center, being eye to eye with it. Yeah, that's one aspect. How to deal with that. And then second song, Desolation Manifest, which is my favorite, deals with this like overwhelming feeling it goes back to the third album, Holodox, which talks about self-reflection.
Yeah.
And how to improve yourself as a human being, as a person. And then Desolation Manifest is actually when you reflect on your reflection, kind of. When you feel, oh, right, I have reflected my behavior, my actions all the time, but nothing has happened out of these reflections. Like I never learned how to improve it in the final step or whatever. It's just, it has been, okay, I could do this, I could do that, but it never happened because
But I didn't do
I
it.
was
Yeah.
stuck in this spiral or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And being like in a desolation without like any result out of this, and that this as a manifest. That's the second song. And it's my favorite because it has a lot of musical facets, which I really like. Also the bridge, which breaks out of the song structure, and then it comes back into the chorus with a different time counting, or how I don't know the exact words, but
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. COVID was ever since I talked to, I think, the first band on here who were a German death metal band called Death Aid, and their album, I think, was called, is it Gates of Hell or Gate of Hell? So when you first look at that and the album cover, you would think, oh yeah, this is kind of standard kind of horror theme, death metal, etc. It was actually all about COVID, the effect it had on people, and like this horror of a hellscape in this kind of virus-ridden world. And the sad thing is, you were saying about that struggle we have where, how can I be a better person? Do I care? Am I just going to think I'm going to be apathetic and remove myself from that and just focus on my kind of my own world, so stay away from that? It's kind of searching for that balance. And it's sad that after COVID, and I'll just delicately put it like this, the political climate that we're seeing at the moment, things are happening, you're just thinking,
yeah,
have we learned anything? We're still doing this to each other in the 21st century, human beings over, different cultures or, whatever. And it's very depressing. And it doesn't, at times, it feels, I could see how it could all get on top of somebody as well, because you'd think, well, how are we going to evolve and be better and do better as well when it's kind of this cycle seems to be repeating? Great inspiration, obviously, for a metal album of any kind. When you mentioned Desolation Manifest, I actually started thinking about that when you were talking about COVID as well, and the whole thing with the vaccines with one moment, folks. Sorry about this. Oops, muted myself again. With how people were behaving to each other towards the vaccines. I'll just say I lost some family members to COVID, so I really did see the other side of it, and I just wish one of them at the time had that vaccine and things would have been different. So yeah, it was pretty appalling period in every sense. It really was. Going on to some of the other songs and themes. None for All, the title track. I just wondered what inspired that title, and when you wrote the lyrics as well, did you then think, right, I've got to have the music particularly line up for this to make this powerful statement as it is the title track?
I was sure for a long time that the album should be called Desolation Manifest. I think that was, for me, that was the title track for a long, long time. And I, as the artwork was created during that time, like piece by piece, I felt like this album, the artwork, the ideas behind it, that's more like None for All. That would fit more better. And so it was not like I started with the title track and
Yeah.
kept going from there. It was like pieces coming together after I had another vision or another song title and title track and stuff. So that was created during or while everything was already recorded or during the recording. And the song itself, I think is great. It's also very versatile, a lot of different inputs, a cool chorus, and just in the end, I think it's catchier to have None for All as a title track, and also the message behind it. Like it has a lot of inspiration from actual the capitalism system and exploitation, for example. And like you work your ass off for something that you might not even support, or you have to because of some circumstances, like family needs the money or whatever.
Yeah.
Then there's nothing like no appreciation,
No,
or
just discarded, aren't you?
the guys who are rich and decide they get more power and abuse their power. And like, and also from this, out of this indifference, and you play your part, or I play my part, like I'm aware of it. And still there's like, should I now like protest or start a movement, or do I just not care? Again, this like empathy, indifference. And yeah, it gets sometimes it's just overwhelming, right?
So
And there can be like, in pessimistic way, there's no nothing keeps society together, right? Everyone is looking for himself and to get the best out of it. Or you can say, okay, I try my best to be a part of society, to improve myself. Again, we are on the topic, right? Yeah.
So do you feel at times then you're kind of that people are bound in a sense to economic slavery, and that you're kind of in the matrix, like you're awake and you're in the matrix, and you know you're playing a part, but as you were saying, there's no kind of reward there, nothing to make you feel like, hey, this is worthwhile. It's like out of necessity. Do you have that feeling sometimes?
Yeah, I do. It's sometimes it's also a bit funny, I talk about exploitation or whatever, and then on the other side of the earth there is a completely different kind of exploitation. And you might say, come on, you have a perfect life, come on, don't
exactly,
don't talk like this, but still, it's an awareness. I think it's important. And why not discussing your system, or the system we live in? There's a lot to improve still, even though we have a lot of things that work well, but
nothing is perfect. And I think if we didn't discuss these systems, of course, compared to other parts of the world, we have it so much better, there's no doubt about that. But if we didn't have these conversations, then there'd be no goal to do better, to be better, to improve things. And it's difficult because, as you've been saying, I know there's many themes within the album, but the kind of one of the dominant central themes in from talking with you today, Jonas. I'm feeling is this struggle for balances. Do I care? Am I going to remove myself and not think about that and just get on with my own life and just leave everyone to it? And I guess it's probably one of those. It fits in kind of to the human struggle as well to be a better person. To attain that balance as well. And it's such a difficult topic because if we want to, as I said, do better, we've got to talk about these things, look at where we can improve them. Otherwise, you can, and I can see how this could happen with some people as well, where you could be locked and trapped in this case of like social anxiety and depression, where you've just completely given up all hope. To put a visual kind of spin on this, perfect way for me to plug the album again. If we think of, say, this being in the far future, dystopian wasteland or something, with one of the tracks from the album, one of the more melodic ones, and you could see this guy's kind of looking back on, well, what happened to civilization? What did I do in my life? Did I make poor decisions? All flows very nicely, and there's a very, I think, smart interpretation of commenting on that struggle that I think is very common now, and probably is going to be an internal struggle always going forward with whatever time period. Again, I'm just going to put an apology out to folks that may be thinking, why does this guy keep muting and doing kind of background effects? I've had flu for a couple of weeks, folks, and I'm not 100% recovered yet. So when I'm talking, it's straight in my voice, and I can talk for the world, as Jonas has seen from some of my other shows. So it's very difficult for me to kind of minimize. So there's the disclaimer, folks. But we had to do something today because I'd already taken too much time off, and I wanted to get Jonas on the show with us. So moving on to Long Life Doll. And you were saying each of these songs has a particular message. So what is the message behind this one, and could you also tell us a bit about how you put the music together?
Yeah, that song's pretty an exotic one, I would say. It has a lot of harmonies, also in the vocals, clean vocals. I was inspired by a band I love and I admire, Alice in Chains.
Oh,
not a typical metal band, but a great band. Love it. It's unbelievable how this band can make such heavy music with mainly major chords, which is funny, really funny, because they play like all the major chords, and then through the vocals and the harmonies, it sounds like depressing and heavy, and I love it. It's just great. I try to explore that kind of music. It's Comaniac. It has harsh vocals, of course, and the lyrics are about a girl, this so-called doll, and she realizes after getting older, maybe in the teenage years or whenever, how she was manipulated in her growth during her how do you call that, education, or by growing up through her mother. What's the word?
Through her upbringing.
Yeah, exactly. That her mother actually manipulated her just to be herself, like the mother's wishes, mother's hopes and dreams, which she could not get herself, like, I don't know, whatever. And so she tries to relive her life through the doll, right? To make her like a little mini me. Whatever. It's about education, about the power of education as well, and yeah, like a long life goal, and realizing what kind of power is in education, also in media, or whatever you want to call it. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And like everyone who wants to uh, raise children, have a family, I think it's very important that they are aware of how they want to raise their children, and also what's in their hands, what power is in their hands. Yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me as well of those mothers that put the very very young children in those beauty pageants, and as you said, they're like living through them, and they're like kind of like mini clones of them versions.
Yeah.
And I think it's like stifling that child's identity, and let them grow up first, and then whatever they want to do, that's up to them. And again, getting like back to the theme of balance, you want to instill that in family as well, so that they, again, it's always that constant need as well to do better, to be improved, right? Okay, so I want these family members to do better than say I did. It's very interesting. So the music, did that just, did you have the music already recorded before you did the lyrics for this one?
No. I used to do that all the time, having the song ready, the music, and then the lyrics. But it has changed, especially on this album. It was I tried to capture the mood of the song, and then try to come up with lyrics and musical like ways how to change it, like major minor stuff.
Yeah.
I love it, but it's pretty complex, and
Yeah.
so I try to have these different approaches and musical inspirations together.
Yeah. Interesting as well. We when you referenced Alice in Chains, because again, we've been talking like about introspection, self-reflection, and there's a lot of that in their music as well, like this and really quite a dark edge as well, a lot more than people realize. So that's very interesting, because that's already made me think, well, you've kind of come up with like a thrash version of that, drawing on other elements as well, of course, which is pretty cool, man. Just before we get to talking about the next song, there's something I definitely want to ask you about, because I'm obsessed with the culture, and a lot of my own interests revolve around Japan as well. Dude, the Kamikazee, the Spirit of Japan tour, that must have been so special to go out there. Japan has a good scene in metal and hardcore and punk as a whole, a lot more than people realize. Some great bands. I mean, it's Grief of War as well, and so many more. That must have been such a special experience to see that culture, to see, all the history there as well, and then obviously to play there. So, what was that like, man?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
We are always in contact with these people still, because it was such a great time, and they want us to come back, and
Oh,
we
awesome.
tried during or before Corona to get something going. We also had plans to go to Mexico for the first time,
Wow.
right in spring 2020, which was all cancelled then. So we're still hoping to get this going as well. And then, of course, Japan, as I said, it was unbelievable. Have you been to Japan?
No, it is my absolute dream. I would even live there. Yeah, it is some on my bucket list of places to go to and explore as much of the country as possible.
I mean, we were just in Tokyo, for
Yeah,
all the shows, and they were all underground shows. It was just mind blowing, because
yeah,
this city is just crazy. As a Swiss guy, I mean, it's unbelievable how big this is and what you can find there. It's crazy, and all the shows we played, like all on the ground. It's like
Yeah.
you walk through these crazy building streets, and all the buildings left and right, like so high. In Switzerland, everything is flat except the mountains, of course. And then you go, there's a small stairs downstairs, and then you go down there, and there's like another world, like
Yeah.
all is dark and narrow, but the shows were just insane. If
Yeah.
someone wants to capture some impressions, you can find it on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. There's
Awesome.
a song called Spirit of the Failed,
Yeah.
which is the bonus track for the Japan edition. We did a bonus track
Yeah.
for it, and we did a video from all the impressions.
Oh, awesome.
Cut it together back in 2018. And yeah, I hope we can do it again. To be honest, we already have a bonus track ready for it.
Hey.
So we want to be ready. We want to be ready. If it happens, we go. So let's see.
It's such a beautiful culture, and they have that passion as well for the music. They really do get behind it, and it's one of those scenes I feel in the world that it's got a really good universal standards as a whole. You can go there. There's a hardcore scene there. There's a thrash scene. They've got a very vibrant death metal scene. They've even got doom out there, traditional heavy metal, straight up punk rock. Everything is there. So when I read that, I just thought, oh man, I've got to ask you about it. And hope you get out there again as well, because that's special. And I just wondered, before I go back to talking about the songs from None for All, how did you organize that tour for Japan? Just curious, how did that come together? Did somebody reach out to you, or did you think, I want to go to a different part of the world, really outside of Europe, North America, and get the Comaniac name established in Asia and grow it there? It's like stepping outside the box, I guess.
That was not the plan. We didn't have any plans for Japan or America, Northern America, whatever. So it was a contact we were working on for a long time. He's our manager now, the guy. It's a Swiss guy, and we were in contact for a long time. And then he was telling us, he's going to Japan many times. He has been in Japan many times. And there are like two people who are really big fans of the band and would love to get us over. And we said, yeah, of course we can do it, but let's see if we can get a few shows together. And so they both organized one show, and we said, yeah, that would be great. Maybe we can get some more shows in. So it really works out for us. And then it was our now manager who contacted his people there, and so it happened. It was like a first seed, a few years back, and then it grows from there. So
there is a French. Well, I guess they're a hardcore band, but they do have other elements in the music. Rise of the North Star, and oh man, they're all like dressed as samurais in the videos when they're playing, and it's really interesting how they got known. I think, if I've got this correct, when I read about them, they went and did a tour in Japan themselves, all self-funded, when pretty much nobody really knew them. They're going out there with the music they play, got really successful after it. And I just thought, man, that's pretty amazing. And I know there's something about seeing people dressed as samurais or ninjas playing some kind of mosh. I'm like, yay! But anyway, I'll get back to talking about your music in Star Trek here. So I just wondered if, again, you could tell us about the themes and concepts with Start the Madness and Nothing But Lies.
Start the Madness is our homage, if you want to say, for our old days, because as we already talked about it, our first album is like a very old school thrash, Bay Area thrash piece. All our albums got reviewed pretty well, got good feedback, and then we always have these people, like, oh yeah, it's all right, but your first album is sick, like total insane music, and then it got a bit weaker, not that aggressive anymore, and a bit more melodic. You always have these voices, and I think they are right, and then it's the question of what you prefer, of course. It was just like, let's do an old school song, a fast one, like straight in the face. That was the musical idea behind it, and also the lyrics, like just out of the social whatever happens in the world, right? We talked about it. All these keep repeating. The story keeps repeating itself. Like it's just one mad place sometimes.
Very.
Yeah. I think that's the song which is pretty the most straightforward. Not too many too much philosophy in the song, like straight an easy song to digest. Sometimes you need that as well, right? And Nothing But Lies is more like more of the political approach, like the guy who can lie the best is the best politician, if you want to say it very sloppy, but sometimes it feels that way, and that's the starting idea from the song.
It's an interesting one, that with Nothing But Lies, because I always nickname politics Polytricks.
Exactly.
I always think of like some dark sorcerer working his spells. So I always love when they do like the when they're on the campaign trails and they're like walking down the stage or whatever, and they're going like, people are taken in by it as well. It's just like it's very it's bizarre theater, it really is. But you were saying that some people were criticizing the later feel with the music that it's having, and a lot of melody compared to the first one. Well, I remember the first one very well, because that's when I was sent that for my shows. You did me the promos, and I used to play that. Well, it was on rotation a lot on the Wastelands. Played it a lot. But in fairness, I think you've gone for balance, because you've got you've got the melodic songs on there, but you've still got some of the raw ones as well. I've noticed actually a difference in the production and the audio quality since the early release, since the first album. That really has gone up a notch. And what I think is good is on the rawer tracks, as we're going to get to one in a moment, actually my favorite from None For All, is it's still got that rawness intensity, but the audio side of it's really gone up there as well. So I can see what people are saying, I guess. And I'm not going to say I've never been one of those folks where, I prefer this early release, this is rawer. But I think, as you said, you offer a balance, and with the themes that you're exploring, you want to introduce that heavy metal edge as well, and that's drawing from prog, power metal, putting your own spin on Alice in Chains, as you said. So I don't think anyone can sit down and say if they're a fan of the rawer side, there's nothing there for them, because there is. And who's to say that on a future album, with whatever topic you want to explore, you might say, right, we're going to do a complete full raw assault one again, and then something different, who knows. So moving on to the next track before I mute out for another coughing episode. Breakdown Right, man. As I said, I've got to be honest, this was my favorite when I heard this, because it's like Eye to Eye, where it's straight bam, hits you in the face. But man, this really is a circle pit one. There's no getting away from it. This is literally run round, loads of us crashing into each other. This is like all out blistering thrash warfare. Awesome song. So again, did you just want to put this rager on there just to get people's attention again? Say, okay, we're really going to wake you up now.
It seems that way, right? Yeah, it's also the fastest song actually on the album. It gets into a tempo of these big melodic death metal bands, like At the Gates, thing, like even faster than the thrash. It's from the guitar technique, you switch from the down picking, like the James Hetfield thing. It's too fast to do that, so you start. I love melodic death metal. I love At the Gates, for example.
Great.
And to play this music, you also have a great possibility from this tempo to switch the time in the song as well. Like from count 6/8 count to 4/4, and vice versa. And I love to do that, to switch these times in the song. And it was just like this surrounding, the musical time surrounding, to try what can I pack into this tempo. And that was the start of the idea for the song. That's normally I do that a lot of time. I have like a tempo I want to experience or I want to experiment with, and that's the fastest tempo I came up with, and I felt comfortable. And that was the start. And then I love the development in the bridge as well. I think that's has become a Comaniac signature songwriting thing, to get into like another level in the bridge or another musical atmosphere, and then try to come back from it. Like not a classical bridge like in pop music, but more like the bridge is like another song, and then we try to get it into the song without being like a total exotic piece.
Yeah. It's interesting when you mentioned melodic death metal there, where you can get that kind of like melodic death thrash crossover. You certainly hear that with At the Gates. The Haunted, for example, if you look at like their first two albums, which are very raw, very flashy, and then they go a little bit metalcore, and then definitely have like kind of that melodic thrash kind of crossover, which what was either band Marco was in, I think they were called The Resistance, and they kind of did a little bit of that. And then now they've kind of gone a bit back to the early material as well. So it's interesting, as you were talking about, that change up in the structure as well, and how you can kind of put this hybrid kind of style of, it's thrash, but it's death metal as well. It's faster than thrash. It's still got the rawness, and it's kind of verging towards that death metal kind of area. So it was interesting. And what was the lyrical themes with Breakdown Right?
It has to do with another social disease, which is spreading everywhere. You know, like the how do you call it? The burnout.
Yeah.
Like I'm working at the moment. I'm working with someone who had a burnout, and I think like every second person knows at least two people who once went through a burnout.
Yeah.
Then it was like, you know, when you start getting into this spiral, like this downward spiral, and then you go from somewhere, and then it goes down and down and down, and of course depression as well. All
Yeah.
this all these overwhelming feelings, and that's the breakdown, right? Like something that's coming again and again, and again on you, back on you, and you have to deal with it, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's a social phenomenon.
Yeah, oh, it's really interesting, and yeah, you do, or like we were saying earlier, or you're just stuck. You're stuck in this kind of depressive purgatory. The two closeout tracks, Between the Stars and Self Sacrifice. Again, I just wondered if you could tell us about the inspiration and message with each song as well.
Between the Stars is the second last song.
Mm-hmm.
Is, I think, the most progressive song.
Yeah.
Also from the tempo. I'm a big fan of all these how do you call it, neoclassical metal, like Symphony X and stuff.
Oh yeah, very complex Symphony X. One of my friends loves that band.
And of course, I'm a huge Nevermore fan, for example, well. And yeah, that's like the inspiration where it came from. And then the lyrical context is like trapped between the stars, like in no man's land, or in like total void, you know, like it's so it's crazy when you try to capture or to understand how huge our fucking universe is. Like, where are we living? How are our atoms and molecules like built? And there's nothing there, you know. I was I did an apprenticeship as a chemistry assistant, where I learned a lot of the chemical side of the whole like how we exist and stuff, and then of course the philosophy from the philosophy, which I'm very interested in, and then of course the astronomy.
Yeah, astronomy.
Astronomy, yeah, exactly. Thank you. Aspect of it, and it's so fascinating to me. And then I just use that void, you know, that picture from this endless void for the feeling, you know, how sometimes how I feel. I'm sure a lot of people feel from what I hear and what happens, as we talked about it earlier, you know.
Yeah.
All these feelings, like as I said, depression, burnout, not happy with the situation, like economic situation, whatever it can be, and like trapped between the stars, like I don't know where to go and I don't know where I'm coming from. That's the Between the Stars in a nutshell, actually. And Self-Sacrifice is the last song, which is again balladesque song, which is pretty exotic on the album as well, like Long Life Dull, the fourth song. And this song deals with, well, how much sacrifice is healthy or does hurt myself when I go through my life. Like I try to be empathetic to people, you know, like try to help them, which is great. And then there is a certain point where I start to neglect myself and my feelings or whatever, my needs, and I start to worry about people more than myself. Like I sacrifice myself for others, which can be very dangerous as well, because in the end you only live once, you have your dreams, and you should totally live for them as well, of course, in my opinion at least. And that's just you know, I don't want to be like telling someone any conspiracy. I'm not that guy, but I'm not an activist either, or I'm not a politician, but all I love to do is talk about it, try to get these topics into people's mouth, like what we do now, right? Let's just talk about it And it's, in my opinion, so important to think about it. Whatever you do after that, maybe it's just a little talk with a friend like you, and it helps. I think it helps. Whatever.
It yeah,
Yeah.
it does, because it's doing it in a positive way.
Mm.
It's having that civil discourse, something that is certainly lacking, was people just shouting at each other, especially if they disagree. And
Yeah.
and you're definitely right about as well. You've still got to take care of yourself, because and I think all good-natured, well-intentioned people do this, where they can often place the needs of others above themselves, and forget about themselves as well, and then find out, well, say that person who they've helped could be in a better place, but then they've gone down because they've forgotten about themselves. So it's like what we've been chatting about today with a lot of the themes on None for All, but one of the central ones is like finding that balance, as you were saying earlier, thinking, right, do I care here, or do I take myself out of this situation? I want to be a good person, but I don't want to damage myself as well in the process of doing that. And I am the same. I'm no activist or anything like that, and I find the whole kind of culture where people are getting offended so much if somebody just puts a chair back in the wrong manner. It's absolute craziness. So I like to hopefully have Fed Up as a place where we can talk like this as friends. Have a giggle as well, and do things in the right way. And as you were saying, if that puts that positivity out there, gets people thinking, that's a good thing. And the beauty with None for All is, I was talking earlier about kind of and it's because I'm such a nerd, the sci-fi visuals I was getting, but it is open to interpretation. You could easily put that sci-fi element on there with the songs and think of somebody in the future, like you were just saying, between the stars. Immediately makes me think of somebody on a ship, void of space, middle of nowhere. And if you think, say, you feel isolated now on Earth, and you think if you're in space and say there's minimal crew on that ship, and you've got those feelings, I mean, that must be so unimaginable, because that would be like, it's like 1,000% increased. And it's not like, I can just get the train, I'll be home in 10 minutes, whatever. No, so it's interesting, because, and what I think is the beauty of metal as well, how we can talk about these things with history, society. One moment. Apologize again. How we can talk about these areas, but put that theatrical spin on it, change the setting, put it in a far future, in a fantasy world, or something like that. And that I think is one of the healthy ways of chatting about it as well. So that's a great thing. Sadly, I'm going to have to wrap this up, folks, because my throat is really starting to get to me. I do want to thank Jonas for his patience in putting it with my background effects, and I may be doing this on the rest of the episodes for this week, folks, until I'm 100% recovered. But I don't know. Hopefully,
As we talked about the lyrical context, you have to take care of yourself now.
Yeah,
you took a sacrifice, and I'm very happy. I'm so glad it happened. I'm so thankful for being here with you, for having me. And of course, I'm sure everyone will understand. You will have to look for yourself now to get back to full power. And if everyone has, or whoever listened to that podcast until now, I'm sure they will like and subscribe to your channel and support you, because you're doing it with a lot of heart your channel, and I'm very thankful. So be well and get better as fast as possible.
Oh, well, danke dir und bitte schön, man. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I didn't, as I was talking to you in email, I didn't want to take another week off. I thought, even though I'm not 100%, I've got to do something. So, honestly, I really enjoyed chatting to you, especially after playing your band for all those years on my former shows, and now we're actually talking as well. And the next thing is hopefully seeing you play live, so meet you in person. That would be great. Definitely go and support Comaniac, folks. If you're a fan of raw thrash, prog, power thrash as well, even virgin, unless we were saying melodic kind of death thrash as well. Everything is there, especially if you like concept albums. And let's get a good close up on that. Isn't that a beautiful album cover, folks?
Looks good, right?
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't have. It even makes me think of Rogue Trooper as well. Such a nerd, man. Yeah. We definitely will talk again, that's for sure. I've got all the links in the description, folks, so be sure to go and support Comaniac. I will be back tomorrow with Imperium and then Disorientation later on that night. So I shall see you all again very, very soon. Take care of yourselves. Thanks again to Jonas for joining me today. This is Fed Up. Peace out for now. I'm going to go and get some much needed whiskey, I think.